Christianity and Islam, as two of the world's most influential religions, have profoundly shaped human history, often leaving significant challenges and consequences for individuals and societies. While adherents often highlight ideals like peace, compassion, and morality to defend their religious identities, the reality often contrasts sharply. Leadership within these religions has, at times, perpetuated practices that have led to societal, psychological, and cultural damage. This contrast between ideals and historical actions reveals a darker side to the influence these religions have had on the world. The rigid doctrines promoted by religious leaders, the exclusionary ideologies they have enforced, and the spiritual stagnation they have created have all had lasting negative effects on individuals and communities worldwide. One of the most harmful doctrines propagated by Christianity and Islam is the idea of waiting for a future savior, Jesus Christ in Christianity and Allah in Islam. This belief directs followers to anticipate a future event, often viewed as a solution to humanity's struggles, while neglecting the transformative power of personal growth and self-realization in the present moment. By framing salvation or spiritual fulfillment as contingent upon the arrival or intervention of an external figure, these doctrines shift attention away from the inner potential for enlightenment and divine connection within each individual. This externalized hope can lead to spiritual stagnation, as adherents delay meaningful action and personal responsibility, awaiting a promised future that, in reality, can never materialize. Moreover, this focus creates a sense of powerlessness, discouraging individuals from recognizing that spiritual growth is not an external event but a deeply personal, ongoing process. True enlightenment and transformation arise from self-reflection, inner work, and conscious action in the present. Religious leaders in both traditions have caused harm through their strict enforcement of orthodoxy based on the Bible and Quran. These texts are upheld as absolute authorities, often used to discourage individuals from discovering the divine within themselves. Followers are warned that any spiritual pursuit outside these prescribed doctrines is false, heretical, or even satanic. This rigid stance has stifled personal freedom, preventing individuals from exploring their own spirituality or achieving direct communion with the divine outside these institutional frameworks. While these texts include a few philosophical ideas with elements of truth, much of the content in the Bible, Quran, and Hadith lacks universal relevance. Rather than inspiring spiritual growth or personal empowerment, they often function as instruments of control, limiting individual exploration and deeper understanding of the divine. Concepts like hell, heaven, the last days, judgment, resurrection, Satan, jinn, in Islam, and salvation, as portrayed in these texts, are not grounded in reality. Instead, they serve to suppress authentic spiritual inquiry and inhibit a broader, more universal understanding of the divine, preventing individuals from pursuing a deeper connection with truth and self-realization. Throughout history, Christian and Muslim leaders have enforced exclusionary doctrines, claiming that salvation is only possible through adherence to their respective faiths. The idea that only Christians or Muslims can achieve salvation has led to widespread persecution of non-believers and individuals of other faiths. During the Crusades, for instance, Christian leaders led campaigns against Muslims and, at times, targeted Jewish communities in Europe, resulting in significant loss of life and cultural destruction. In the name of spreading Islam, empires conquered vast regions, enforced conversions, and caused significant loss of innocent life and destruction. Even within the traditions of mysticism in Christianity and Islam, leaders have enforced strict orthodoxy. In Christianity, mystics like the Cathars, who believed in direct, personal access to God, were slaughtered during the Albigensian Crusade for their beliefs. In Islam, Sufi mystics who advocated for a personal connection with God outside of institutionalized practice were persecuted by religious authorities. This exclusionary mindset continues to harm society, as extremist factions within Christianity and Islam misuse their faith to justify violence, terrorism, and sectarianism. In many regions, rigid ideologies promoted by influential leaders fuel hatred, deepen divisions, and undermine peaceful coexistence among diverse communities. Thousands of online videos from Christian and Muslim apologists exemplify this trend, attacking universal spirituality and distorting messages of unity. Instead of fostering understanding and compassion, these videos amplify division and intolerance, further entrenching societal discord. Moreover, these narrow perspectives marginalize those who have found meaningful spiritual connections outside the strict confines of these religions, denying the validity of alternative paths to the divine. By prioritizing dogma over shared human values, such rhetoric perpetuates a cycle of alienation and strife. Those pursuing enlightenment through personal spiritual exploration are often labeled heretics or apostates, subjected to social ostracism, or even persecution. Non-Abrahamic spiritual paths are frequently dismissed as heretical or branded as satanic, alienating seekers from exploring diverse paths to the divine. Such condemnation denies individuals the freedom to nurture a personal relationship with the divine, limiting spiritual growth and intellectual inquiry. By stifling alternative perspectives, this rigid framework fosters a monoculture of spirituality, one rooted in fear and control rather than truth and inclusivity, blocking humanity from embracing a broader, more compassionate understanding of the divine. Religious authorities in these traditions have weaponized the concept of false prophets to accuse and persecute holy men and spiritual leaders outside their own faiths. Throughout history, those who introduced pathways to true enlightenment or questioned the authority of established Abrahamic doctrines were often denounced as false prophets. This label, frequently wielded by religious authorities, led to severe consequences, including persecution, imprisonment, or execution, effectively suppressing voices that sought to inspire spiritual liberation. These accusations were strategic tools, designed to consolidate religious power and discourage independent spiritual inquiry. By branding dissenters as threats to divine order, religious institutions preserve their dominance while stifling progress toward universal understanding and enlightenment. Such practices not only silenced innovative thinkers but also diverted countless individuals from exploring the profound potential for personal spiritual growth and direct communion with the divine. Ironically, the real false prophets are those who promote fear-based, outdated notions like the last days and final judgment, concepts rooted in the Bible and later mirrored in the Quran. Accusing genuine sages of being false prophets is one matter, but dismissing their miracles as mere tricks or attributing them to the devil is profoundly offensive to divinity. Miracles are, after all, true signs of the divine. Miraculous abilities reveal many unknown secrets about the nature of our consciousness and, consequently, reality. These demonstrations hold immense significance for both scientific inquiry and religious understanding. Individuals who strive to exhibit such abilities should be met with respect, encouragement, and support, not dismissed as frauds. Christian and Muslim leaders who seek to suppress this phenomenon are, in essence, resisting divine will and aligning themselves with the very forces they claim to oppose, the devil. Miraculous demonstrations are essential, for without them, humanity would remain blind to the existence of such extraordinary phenomena. Universal spirituality extends beyond the boundaries of science, and through exploring miraculous abilities, we begin to uncover deeper layers of consciousness. Gaining an understanding of these forces offers profound insights into the true nature of reality and the vast potential of the human spirit. These revelations challenge conventional views, opening pathways to higher awareness and a more holistic understanding of existence. By embracing the miraculous abilities, we move closer to realizing the full scope of our capabilities and the interconnectedness of all things. Should anyone successfully demonstrate the miraculous phenomenon of teleporting an object to the scientific community, it could potentially earn them a Nobel Prize, as such a breakthrough would challenge some of the most foundational theories in physics, including Einstein's theory of relativity. The scientific world would be utterly shaken by the implications of such a demonstration. During teleportation, an object undergoes a process in which it dematerializes, its astral form is teleported, and then it rematerializes. The ability to dematerialize an object opens up intriguing possibilities, including the potential to dematerialize and subsequently rematerialize the human body. Teleportation holds profound spiritual significance as it represents the merging of individual consciousness with the creative aspect of the absolute. Scientifically, teleportation challenges established theories like the Big Bang model, which posits that the universe formed from an explosion of matter and, through cooling, led to the formation of atoms, molecules, elements, compounds, stars, planets, and more. This theory, however, is wrong. In truth, all things materialize from the Akashic realm of consciousness, unfolding sequentially in our physical realm. The creation and dissolution of the physical universe mirror the process of dematerialization and rematerialization of an object, but they occur naturally over the course of trillions of years. Muslim apologists often invoke the last prophet doctrine to suppress genuine sages connected to God and their ability to perform miracles. Similarly, Christian apologists argue that only Jesus can perform miracles, dismissing all others as invalid. This reasoning is as absurd as the United States claiming that only Mike Tyson is a real boxer and that all other boxers from different traditions or countries are fraudulent, justifying their suppression and persecution. Such arguments exemplify the ignorance of both Christian and Muslim apologists. Whether one manifests or teleports a talisman, practices astral travel, or heals oneself and others, the core process remains the same. Imagine a world where Christians and Muslims embrace these concepts instead of opposing them. What many fail to understand is that, if they ever needed to heal themselves or their loved ones, they would inevitably rely on the same universal methods grounded in one of two approaches. The first approach involves embodying the angel of healing, while the second requires commanding the angel of healing to facilitate healing. These methods are extensively detailed in Franz Barton's teachings. For every angel, there exists a corresponding negative counterpart. For instance, the negative counterpart of healing is harming. Yet, regardless of whether one chooses to heal or harm, the process is essentially identical. In the second approach, healing requires commanding the angel of healing, while harming involves commanding its negative counterpart. Both acts are possible only through merging with God, and both are, in essence, miracles. Alternatively, rather than commanding the angel of healing, one can embody its qualities, an approach detailed in Barton's third book, The Key to the True Kabbalah. You must think of angels as aspects of God, for nothing in existence is separate from God. Muslim apologists present the Prophet of Islam as a universal model for humanity, a figure they believe all should emulate. However, this claim raises serious moral and ethical concerns. His documented actions, engagement in violence, polygamy, promises of a sensual paradise, and a perceived lack of intellectual depth, make him a questionable role model. While many Muslims sincerely regard him as the best of mankind and strive to replicate his life, an intellectually honest evaluation reveals significant issues with such a standard. Efforts to convert others to Islam often seek to impose this example globally, creating a troubling dynamic. This push risks normalizing behaviors and attitudes that conflict with modern principles of human dignity, equality, and peace. Emulating a figure with such contentious traits can hinder humanity's moral and intellectual progress, fostering division rather than unity. A true universal model should inspire values that uplift all, transcending cultural and temporal boundaries. To force adherence to a figure with problematic elements is not just harmful, it undermines the shared pursuit of a better, more compassionate world. A more impactful role model would be someone like Jesus or Buddha, whose teachings emphasize love, compassion, and selflessness, virtues that inspire individuals to embody divinity in their everyday lives. Unfortunately, many Christians misinterpret the idea of emulating Jesus, claiming it's impossible to truly become like him and that one must merely wait for his return. This belief, coupled with the realization that Jesus may have been a mythical figure, leaves many feeling lost and disconnected from a clear path to spiritual growth. Without a real-life example of how to embody divinity, they remain lost, disconnected from the possibility of transforming their own lives. Spiritual growth requires accessible role models who demonstrate divine qualities in a way that others can aspire to. When figures like Jesus are idealized as unattainable, they hinder rather than help, making it difficult for people to find practical inspiration for living a more divine and compassionate existence. You become like those you follow. If you follow the footsteps of the Prophet of Islam, you risk becoming a poet who simply echoes what others have said, relying on second-hand accounts rather than direct divine connection. If you are a Christian, you may find yourself endlessly waiting for events that will never occur or for someone who will never come. Both paths often lead to passivity, limiting spiritual growth and keeping individuals dependent on external narratives. True divinity cannot be realized by merely echoing what others have said, relying on second-hand accounts, or waiting. It demands direct experience, personal transformation, and a willingness to move beyond inherited beliefs. Liberation comes not from following or waiting but from awakening to the divine potential within and embodying it in the present moment. The Abrahamic religions have often weaponized the Bible and Quran to suppress those who embody divinity, casting them as threats to established doctrines. This suppression has kept humanity trapped in spiritual darkness, disconnected from its higher potential. What humanity urgently needs are individuals who embody divinity and perform miracles, offering undeniable proof that divinity is real and attainable. Such examples serve as a bridge between abstract beliefs and lived experience, showing that divinity is not confined to ancient texts or distant, unreachable figures. Instead, it is something each person can aspire to, embody, and experience in their own lives. These living examples of divinity inspire faith, hope, and transformation, offering humanity a path out of spiritual stagnation and into a future where the divine is not merely a concept but a vibrant, lived reality. To illustrate, imagine humanity stranded on an island, surrounded by rising waters, with no tools, boats, or technology to escape. Survival depends on swimming great distances, but no one knows if it's possible. Then, someone steps forward, not only claiming it can be done but demonstrating the ability to swim to safety. Instead of encouraging others to follow, a group viciously persecutes this person, discouraging hope and silencing their message. This scenario reflects how Christian and Muslim leaders often treat those who embody divinity. Rather than recognizing them as guides, they vilify and suppress them, preventing others from discovering their own spiritual potential. In doing so, they betray their claimed purpose, aligning with forces of ignorance and suppression, essentially doing the devil's work. Leadership in both Christianity and Islam has profoundly influenced the marginalization and oppression of women throughout history. Patriarchal structures embedded within both religions have reinforced gender inequality, perpetuating the idea that women are inferior to men. In Christianity, passages like Ephesians 5:22, which calls for women to submit to their husbands, have been used to justify the subjugation of women in the family and society. Similarly, many Islamic scholars and clerics have interpreted the Quran and Hadith to limit women's rights, advocating for practices such as forced marriages, female genital mutilation, and restrictions on education and employment. Throughout history, religious authorities in these traditions have hindered intellectual freedom and scientific advancement. During the Middle Ages, the Catholic Church suppressed groundbreaking scientific discoveries, such as the heliocentric theory, which challenged long-held religious doctrines. While Islam once led the world in scientific advancements during its golden age, the rise of religious conservatism in later centuries has hindered progress, particularly in parts of the Arab world. Both religions have often prioritized dogma over reason, fostering an environment of intellectual stagnation. Instead of promoting critical thinking and the pursuit of knowledge, religious institutions frequently sought to control the narrative, censoring ideas that contradicted established teachings. This suppression of free inquiry has hindered scientific, philosophical, and cultural development, leaving behind a legacy of lost opportunities for human advancement. The consequences of such intellectual repression continue to shape the development of society today. Christian and Muslim leaders have dramatically reinterpreted the concept of the last days, shifting it from a localized event, such as the first-century destruction of the Jerusalem Temple, where survival was possible by fleeing to the hills, Matthew 24:16, to a global end-of-the-world scenario prophesied by God. In Christianity, the belief centers around the return of Jesus to resolve all matters. In Islam, a parallel expectation exists, with Allah assuming the central role, performing the actions that Christians traditionally ascribe to Jesus. This reinterpretation has cultivated a mindset of passivity, where followers often focus on awaiting divine intervention rather than tackling urgent global challenges. Critical responsibilities, such as environmental conservation and conflict prevention, are frequently overshadowed by the belief that a divine figure will ultimately resolve all issues. This everything will be fine attitude, ingrained in adherents of Christianity and Islam, fosters complacency and undermines proactive efforts to address humanity's most pressing problems. Consequently, vital action to combat environmental degradation is neglected, while escalating conflicts are left unchecked, exacerbating global instability. Over time, this pervasive apathy threatens catastrophic consequences, including the collapse of ecosystems, societal disintegration, and the potential extinction of the human species. Without a collective shift toward accountability and action, this passive mindset risks allowing irreversible damage to our planet and humanity's future. The spread of both Christianity and Islam has often led to the suppression or destruction of indigenous cultures, languages, and practices. Christian missionaries have historically sought to convert indigenous peoples and eradicate their traditions, while the spread of Islam has sometimes led to the dissolution of local customs and cultures, particularly through forced conversions or the imposition of Islamic law. Strict doctrines and fear-based teachings within Christianity and Islam have contributed to widespread mental health struggles, fostering anxiety, depression, and spiritual crises among their adherents. For example, the concept of eternal damnation in Christianity or the strict interpretations of Islamic law can provoke intense fear and emotional distress. The emphasis on obedience and sin within these faiths may also exacerbate feelings of shame and worthlessness, particularly among those who struggle to meet religious expectations. Additionally, historical and cultural pressures to conform can further isolate individuals, contributing to mental health struggles within these communities. The waiting mentality prevalent in both Christianity and Islam, centered around the return of Jesus or Allah, often leads to a significant misallocation of resources. Billions of dollars are spent on maintaining faith in a distant, future event, while the essential pursuit of genuine spiritual growth is overlooked. The true path to enlightenment/self-realization/union with the Absolute or God, found in living consciously and ethically in the present, is neglected. These precious resources could be far better utilized by supporting initiatives that foster deeper understanding, personal transformation, and a universal approach to spiritual awakening. By encouraging individuals to cultivate mindfulness, compassion, and ethical behavior today, we can create a more harmonious world, rather than fixating on an uncertain future, allowing for a more immediate and profound spiritual impact. Salvation, as outlined in the Bible and Quran, can never materialize, leaving followers in a perpetual state of waiting. Instead of focusing on a distant future, both religious traditions could benefit from embracing the present moment and empowering individuals to seek the divine within themselves through personal effort and self-realization. Christianity and Islam, as two of the world's most influential religions, have profoundly shaped human history, often leaving significant challenges. Christianity and Islam, as two of the world's most influential religions, have profoundly shaped human history, often leaving significant challenges and consequences for individuals and societies.
We've known each other many years, but this is the first time you ever came to me for counsel and for help. I can't remember the last time that you invited me to your house for a cup of coffee. But let's be frank, you never wanted my friendship, and you didn't need a friend like me. But now you come to me and you say, Don Corleone, and give me justice. But you don't ask for respect. You don't offer friendship. You don't even think to call me Godfather.
How much shall I pay you?
What have I ever done to make you treat me so disrespectfully? If you'd come to me in friendship, then the scum that ruined your daughter would be suffering this very day. And if by chance an honest man like yourself should make enemies, then he would become my enemies. And then they would fear you.
Are you my friend? Godfather?
Good. Someday, and that day may never come, I'll call upon you to do a service for me. But until that day, accept this justice as a gift of my...
This was never about money for us. It was about us against the system. That system that kills the human spirit. We stand for something. To those dead souls inching along the freeways in their metal coffins, we show them that the human spirit is still alive.